Welcome to Sidewalk Talk. I'm Steve Fortunato. I founder of Shovel the Sidewalk, a marketing firm in Buffalo, New York. And what we do at Shovel the Sidewalk is we tell stories. And that's what we do at Sidewalk Talk too. And today this is episode number 2, Eric Posa. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate Copeland Technology Solutions.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, this is great. Eric is a thought leader, and I thought he would be great to have on this show. We have a lot of, Eric is, Copeland Technology Solutions is a client of Shovel the Sidewalk. We helped rebrand them. In fact, we renamed you. We can get into that in a little bit. But Eric is a deep thinker. And he's got great stories. He's got a great story about his personal brand. He's got a great story about Copeland Technology Solutions. And the idea here of Sidewalk Talk is just to have a conversation. And if there's a nugget that somebody can take out of this, whether it's a success you had, a failure you had, a philosophy that you have, and they can take that nugget and implement it into their life, into their business, into whatever they're doing, then this is a success. So that's the idea here. There are no rules, and we'll just kind of have a chat.
Great.
So I think it is important, since we're at Copeland right now, is to talk about what you guys do. The world of IT literally changes every day, and you're on the cutting edge. But again, I work with you and I don't get what you do. So can you try to explain to us what services you guys provide and what it means for somebody out there?
For sure, yeah. So to sum it up quickly, we help our customers, small to medium business, leverage technology to improve their business. So whether that is software, hardware, mobile devices, point of sale, we talk with our customers to help them grow their revenue, increase their market share, mitigate risk, cybersecurity risk, improve their product, reduce their cycle times, all different ways that you can leverage technology and integrate it with your business to improve it. So that's where we come in. We're not just a bunch of nerds or geeks or whatever you want to call them.
You are a little bit.
We kind of are a little bit. Nothing wrong with that. But we're not just about the tech. We're not just about the devices, the hardware, the software, the coding, and things like that. We're about business improvement, and that's really what it comes down to. And the way in which we improve businesses, just like someone in the dental industry improves a smile, he has his tools for that. We improve a business with technology, whatever that may be. So that's what we do.
So. Jane Doe owns a small business. She's just getting started. Is that when she contacts you, or how does that work? When does someone need you?
Usually there's kind of like a life cycle of technology services. Someone will start a business, or they'll have someone they know who knows enough about it to kind of get them going. I've started businesses before myself, so I know the first thing on my mind when I started it up was not what technology am I going to use. It's how do I find and connect with people and get money. That's the most important thing. How do I get paid? So usually the life cycle goes, you get to a certain size, whether that be 3 to 5 or somewhere around there, or a certain amount of revenue as like a small business, where all of a sudden you're gonna have to become more efficient. You're gonna have to compete. You're going to have to reach more people, or you're going to have to improve your product in some way. And then the thought should always be, how could I use some technology or leverage a technology to move my company forward, move this part of my business in the right direction? So at that point is when we will have a conversation with somebody. We'll help somebody get off the ground. If they have a quick question, we'll help them. But until... We don't want to work with an organization that's just about, get me the software, get me the hardware, and I'll take it from here. We need to be integrated with that company and helping that company.
You want to be a partner.
I want to be part of that.
Not a vendor.
Yeah.
You don't want to be a vendor, you want to be a partner.
Yeah. I know that's used a lot, but we truly have to, because your IT spend should be part of your strategy.
So you provide multiple services. What's the most important service that you provide?
It depends on your business. It really does. Some people invest in technology to mitigate risk, cybersecurity, which that touches most people.
That would be everybody, right?
It pretty much touches most people, but some people may say, hey, if someone takes my data, it's not really a big deal. Some say, hey, if I get hacked, it's my information's up here. So it all depends. It affects most people. It affects most businesses. Some organizations want to look at operations first and say, listen, our ERP or our application we're using, should be better. Help us find a new provider or something like that. They may go to their product themselves. So if they may contract us to say, hey, Copeland, our product isn't competing well. It's not one of the top 3 that are out there. We need to use technology to improve our product. How can you help us with that? Are we taking devices to a desktop or to we're taking a mobile device to a place where we're testing things, as opposed to writing down the information and transcribing it back when we get there, and losing some of the information in the way because of that translation. So there's lots of different ways that someone can leverage technology. It really depends on them. Most importantly is cybersecurity, protection, and strategy. Those are the three things I'd focus on. How are you going to spend your IT money? How are you going to spend money on technology? How do you protect yourself on the cybersecurity and backup side of things?
Let's talk about the sales part of it then. You mentioned earlier when you had your own business, we'll get to in a second, but it's about revenue. I said right at the beginning, I work with you, I still can't comprehend everything you guys do. How do you sell that? What are you doing? What is your technique to, and people think of sales and selling like you're scamming people. No, how do you partner with people? How do you become that partner? Because obviously you've had clients you guys have been in business 40 years, you've had clients a long time. So what is it that you're doing to click with others? Is there some kind of formula that you use that someone else listening or watching this on YouTube could say, I like that idea, I might try that?
For us, I think we used to kind of compete on price and things like that, which anyone who's in the service business, price is not where you want to go. It's like bottom 6, number 6 or number 7 on the list. For us, right out of the gates, it's developing the business case. They're only gonna buy our services if we do one of 5 things. We increase their market share. We reduce costs, operational costs, so they're able to do more with less, increasing margins. Increase or decrease the cycle time. We can get more out the door faster. Improve their product or service in some way to be more competitive, or mitigate risk. If we're not talking those 5 things, we're gonna have some challenges. We're gonna be working side by side or competing side by side. We're not unique with our competitors. So out of the gates, we don't talk about ourselves. We understand the business case and we be quiet and we ask questions. And I think that's very important. It's very difficult for me to do. I love to talk. So being quiet and asking questions, talking to the P&L, talking to the operational costs, asking the questions. What does it cost your organization to be down? And taking someone through an exercise to teach them why this stuff is important. The sale after that, if we're a good fit, we want the opportunity. If we're not, we'll tell them. If they're not going to invest in our technology, it's not a good fit for us. It will be butting heads. We're not afraid to recommend other partners or other providers that we have. Going into it where making sure the person either leaves the conversation with direction that helps them or stays with us and we can help them. Identifying that right out of the gates is the most important thing for us.
Yeah, it is cliche to say you got to be a good listener. I think it does come down to communication. So many times it's asking a question, okay? And especially at the beginning of a relationship and in any relationship, it's like, it's a tough thing to answer. I don't really know you well enough. So I find that sometimes, almost all the time, you have to ask the question, and you got to get this answer. So it's a doctor can't just say, here's some pills because your back hurts. The doctor has to figure out why your back hurts, right? And what to do about that. So you're finding pain points, if I'm hearing you right. You're finding pain points, but a lot of times what I find is I have to ask that question. I got a partial answer because the trust isn't there yet. And so I ask the question in a different way, and then in a different way, and then in a different way. And if I don't have the proper answer, meaning I don't think I have all the knowledge yet, then I can't really make that suggestion. And sometimes when we're still on board, those questions are continuous. So communication, a lot of times a relationship evolves, or a partnership evolves, and it didn't really start that way. But over time, we became more comfortable with each other. The trust was built, so we're able to identify other pain points that we can help with. Does that happen in your business too?
Absolutely. You know, out of the gates, exactly to your point. You know, someone will say, "Hey, you know, I'm struggling because we can't get support to our team fast enough." Well, that's not really enough to drive a change in vendor. We're talking about a big deal to shift to a different vendor or supplement someone who has an IT staff, you know, in-house. That's a big transition. So asking that follow-up question, well, why is that important now? Or, you know, what's causing this to be an issue now? You kind of got to get deeper and peel back the layers to get to the real heart of things. It may be, listen, we're experiencing downtime. It's affecting our profit and loss. I mean, bottom line is our customers are not happy with us, and we have to improve that. And our CSRs are down 2 times a week. We can't print, and it's causing us to lose revenue. It's causing our invoicing not to go out. We're getting paid in longer terms. It's affecting our cash flow. So there's IT challenges all over the place. How they truly affect the core pieces of your business is where you got to get to. And then on the account management side, having semi-annual reviews, quarterly discussions, including conversations in that contract to say, you know, Steve, you saw a new device you saw an advertisement for a new device. You know, I'm going to call up my account manager and ask, hey, you know, what's up with this thing? Can it help us? Guess what? Yeah, let's have a conversation. We'll determine if it can or not. So as your business shifts, which it should, the services we provide have to shift as well. You can't do that unless you're listening. And you can't do that unless you're asking questions.
And communicating, we always say clear, consistent communication, because it's difficult to communicate right now, especially with everyone getting bombarded with different messages and different ways of and communication has changed. It's interesting. It's changed over time. Even now I just remember a few years ago, well, more than a few years ago, but it was like when someone sends an email, now we can just send an email almost like a text messaging, like, okay. And it used to have to be a little bit more formal.
Or you can just, you're messaging and you just hit a thumbs up.
Yeah, right.
So is that okay, we're good, or is that okay on what I said? Like that's something our organization struggles with as well. We utilize some peer mentorship groups through Vistage, and we've had consultants come in and help us with those things. And providing clarity and communication is one of our goals, because we're accountable. If we say we're going to do something, if it doesn't get done in the way it was perceived, it didn't get done. And that's on us not to have clarity. You know, when did you want it? Oh, by end of day. Well, my end of day is 10 p.m. at night. When's your end of day? That's right. So to your point, that clarity is important. Yeah.
All right. So this is talk to me about, where are you from? Where'd you grow up? You're an NT guy. High school?
Cardinal
O'Hara guy. Okay. And then after that?
Canisius College.
All right. So, and now you're married. How many kids?
3.
But you're living in the South Towns.
Hamburg.
So you don't mind the snow. All right.
It's shifted, my thought on it, over the time. I'm a big hockey guy, so winter used to be big for me. Now it's become more of a burden when you got to dress the kids up in the snow gear.
You like where the Sabres are going right now?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. It's fun to watch. The most important thing is it's fun to watch. They passed the eyeball test. Consistency, battling through injuries, long season. We'll see if they if they can be consistent.
At the time of this recording, we're in late October. They're about 10, 11 games in. Do they have 10 wins now? No, they lost in
I
overtime,
think
so they're
they're
9
like
wins.
9-1-2 or something like
Yeah,
that.
but it's a different feel, isn't it?
Yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting. I mean, at the end of the day, it's entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
It's not very entertaining when you're losing. So now everybody's excited about it because it's fun to watch.
What is it that you like so much about hockey? Why do you like that sport?
If I think back to when I started playing, I played goalie growing up.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of information processing that you have to develop to be a successful hockey player is huge. You're taking in eyesight observations, sound, feel. The play is constantly moving at an ever-increasing pace. I think I really enjoy it because it kind of reflects on how I am during the rest of my day. I have a lot of things happening. One of my strong suits is being able to prioritize and quickly put out fires or make quick decisions, sometimes to a fault. But I strive under pressure, and I think hockey is part of that, which is why I like that sport. I played baseball in college, which is a little slower paced. So I think soon I'll have to start working on slowing it down a little bit. But hockey definitely resonates with me, and just the speed and the tenacity of it, resonates with me.
I think baseball is the ultimate thinking person's game. At the time of this recording, we're getting ready for Game 7 of the World Series, which is incredible. The third baseman from the Nationals, what's his name, Cardone, he's unbelievable. You watch all.
Yep.
What I like about, he reminded me of Barry Sanders. I love Barry Sanders. First, he was great. Mm-hmm. When he'd score a touchdown, he'd give the ball, because we're in such a society now of me. Mm-hmm. I guess we always have been, but it's just so much more obvious now than it was, just because there's so much more attention. The 21-year-old kid, he's incredible, left-handed hitter. What's his name? Soto from the Nationals. Mm-hmm. It's a home run, beating his chest, all this stuff. This guy saves the day, just runs around the bases. You can't tell if he's excited or not. Mm-hmm. You know he's excited. And he just seems like a true pro.
I think that comes from preparation. I mean, in baseball, you're always thinking, what if this happens? What if this happens? You're always planning. When you're at bat, you're planning. You've worked this through your head many times, and you just meet this one moment of opportunity, and it's like, well, yeah, of course I succeeded. I've been playing this over and over in my head. That's the way it is. But your point about everyone's me. I think that's always kind of been there in athletics, but I think it was always taboo. Like when it used to happen, it used to be a unique case, and you'd be like, oh, that guy's showboating, or he's cocky, or whatever. Now we've got social media, we've got all these different platforms, as everyone is competing to look at you. And I think now it's just become part of life that everyone's competing for FaceTime. Yeah.
I mean, let's talk about that, because that affects people in business too. I don't want to sound like that old guy, but I am concerned about the future, for our kids. Mm-hmm. And what social media, I don't know, you just blame social media, but what's going on with society right now? Mm-hmm. We're either going to be soft, and what I mean by soft, I mean like, it's like they know they have. When I wasn't invited to a party in 8th grade, I probably didn't know about it. Now, if they're not invited to a party in 8th grade, they know about it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And it's like they become more, just more. There's just so much more action going on. They seem to be much more affected. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, there's more visibility. Into what you either are or not doing. I think about it a lot with the mental health of my kids. Yeah. It's a big deal. It's a big, important deal. I don't think we pay enough attention to it. I think the social media, everyone's on display 24/7. Yeah. They don't have a break from being in the eyes of people around them. And not everybody is going to be as on the same page. Yeah. And it gives other platforms for shaming and bullying and stuff like that. I worry about that. For sure, it's a big concern, because right now the kids are at a point now where they're just getting into schools and public schools, and they're meeting new people, and now there's cliques forming. Up until this point, it's been us.
Yeah. What are the age of your kids?
We have twin girls who are turning 7 next month, and then my son is 5.
Yeah. It's a fun time.
It is a fun time,
isn't it?
Yeah.
Is it the greatest thing? For me, having kids, my 8 and 6, it's the most difficult and greatest thing I've ever done.
Yeah, oh yeah, it flips like that from being the most difficult thing to the most gratifying thing.
Yeah.
You can have a brawl with one of your kids over what we perceive to be the littlest thing in the world, they perceive to be the biggest, and then you're getting a hug 30 minutes later, and it's like, well, that just changes things.
So how do you balance? I mean, you got a lot to do in business. You've got a young family. What's your secret to being able to, and you got a long drive, you know, although in other markets it's nothing. But you know, but what is it? What are you doing to ensure that family stays strong? Because I know that's your number one priority.
It's not easy. It's not what it looks like on Facebook from my Facebook feed. I'll tell you that. We post the good stuff. No one posts the look at the kid while they're crying, right? It's a challenge. I think the most important thing is to be honest with what you can and cannot do. Communication, and just making sure we understand. My wife and I understand that what we say helps shape our children, but what we do is 70% of it. If we say one thing and show them something else, that's where they're going to learn. And it's not easy for me. I've grown up always being very emotional. I make decisions quickly. I elevate my emotions quickly, and for raising a child, that's not always the best case. They don't respond very well. So there's a lot of soul searching to figure out what's most important. It's not about me, it's about them, and I got to change. So it's tough. It's a never-lasting struggle, and it's just going to shift as they get older. But the good thing is the chances we have to have good memories, we take advantage of that. We have to.
I see a lot of what you were just saying. I could take a lot of that and implement it into business too. You know, and in being a leader that you are, and having people on board with you, saying one thing is something, but do you make it a point to make sure, do you recognize that as a leader you need people to follow you, and the way you get them to follow you is just by doing instead of saying?
Oh yeah, that's a very valid point. It makes for a lot of uncomfortable situations, a lot of honesty, admitting of doing something wrong, mistakes. But if you're not demonstrating that and living it, your words are empty. No one wants to imitate hypocrisy. Like no one wants to say, hey, I'm going to say I'm going to do something and not do it because he said, no one wants to imitate that behavior because we all know it's wrong. So when they see honesty, ownership, accountability, they want that. They want to see that. And that opens the door for, at the very minimum, communication. And asking for help and those things that we need to have. Or else, who's going to want to work here? Who wants to work for somebody who, do as I say, not as I do? I feel like that's that sort of leadership. That time has passed, whether right or wrong. In the day, I think it was a little bit more, hey, I'm your superior, go do it. I think now it's, hey, we're all on the same team here. I'm going to show you the way. I'm going to show you how to do it. So it's important. It's very important.
Talk about, speaking of leadership, Tom and Gary Copeland, right? And you lost Gary in the last
couple years ago.
Yeah. So talk about how Copeland, I mean, you weren't even born yet.
I was born 2 months
Okay.
when
So
Copeland
you're 40
was
now?
formed. I'm 40.
Are you 40?
The big
Welcome to
40.
the club. Congratulations.
So,
So, yeah, talk about Copeland's beginnings and the three guys and what they did for really to set the table for you guys.
Yeah. I think, from my perspective, the biggest contribution from those three is setting a foundation of service. I do love growth. I do love revenue. I love profits. I love the numbers. But at the end of the day, if you're not serving people, the numbers will fluctuate more than you want, or they won't show up. And there'll be ever-changing rollover in your customer base if you lose the focus of service. And we just had our 40th anniversary party at Thin Man, which was fantastic for us. And Tom Copeland said it best. Gary and Tom started the business, and it was all about service. It's about taking care of people as best as we can, and putting the systems in place to be transparent and communicate with them. Have we done it the best way forever? Nobody's perfect, but that's been a base value, and that's what we believe, and we'll stick to that. We're sincere in that conviction that we will serve the customers. I think that's the biggest thing they brought, because when we came in, for me being a young IT person, passing college, I'll say that I passed, which is great. Went to management information systems, understood technology. I'm a very ones and zeros type person, so very right and wrong. And when you focus on service and communication and those things, it helps kind of bring down the conversation and the emotions. I'm not snapping on something. Well, why'd you do this? Why'd you do that? No. Service, empathy, calm it down, and I think that's the biggest thing they brought. That's the biggest thing I've learned from their mentorship and leadership over 20 years.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think of Tom and Tom, because those are the two I know. I never knew Gary, but they're funny. Mm-hmm. Yeah. They're a funny combo. I love having conversations with the both of them.
The stories of the early days of putting in mainframes and computers the size of a small room, breaking them down to get them in the door, and getting stranded, someone's tie getting caught in a printer and almost pulling them in. I mean, the stories are fantastic, but that history is there, and I think it's an important part moving forward to understand where you came from. Yeah. We can't change that. There's a reason why we've been around for 40 years. There may be other companies that are driving more profits and revenue and things like that, but we're still taking customers from them. Very few times do people leave us, and there's a reason why.
Your retention is
off the charts.
So in sales, a lot of times, I forgot to turn this off, so there you go.
No, that's all right.
In sales, people always say, you got to have, obviously revenue is key, right? Mm-hmm. From what I'm hearing from you is, because it's a philosophy that I've always believed in, the best new revenue is often from your current clients. It's the upsell opportunities. It's much more difficult to bring in a current client. So if you're servicing, to bring in a new client, if you're servicing your current clients, your revenues can grow. The selling process for a new client, I'm not saying you can't bring a new business, you do have to. But a lot of times we forget about our current because we got to go get that new business. In the meantime, the current hasn't been serviced well enough, and they're out, and you got the new one, and they're out, and it's just it's a vicious cycle.
Yeah, and complacency kills, and complacency is something for me that is I can't accept it. But because of our foundation of our customer base, it's not sell or die. We're providing great service we feel is very valuable service to our customer base. We're going out and now we're making sure we're bringing on clients that are a good fit. Because to onboard somebody is expensive. To go find somebody is expensive. To lose somebody is expensive. We don't want to lose someone just because it wasn't a good fit. So we're making sure going through the sales process that if there's any flags that we're not going to align very well, listen, we have other people that we know, contact this person, contact that person. So it gives us the ability to pick and choose who we want to do business with, which I think is very important. If I'm working with a company it's just not a good fit, we know it, it's expensive. And it doesn't help anybody out. Why would we have that relationship? So.
All right, so I want to get to, and we'll wrap it up here. You had your own business. What was the life cycle of that? What's the situation? Why are you here? What's going on?
Yeah, so in 2005, I started working at Copeland in 2001. I have entrepreneurship in my family. At that point in time, and still today, I'm a very driven individual. I have ideas, and I want to push those ideas, and it's very difficult for others around me to be like, listen, okay, we can't do everything you want to do, and it kind of causes some confrontation. I decided, hey, I saw a market for document management, electronic records management, things like that, and was pushed by a friend of mine. Say, hey, you should do this. So I got going on that. It's still around today. It's growing. It's doing very well. But at some point in time, I realized I didn't plan enough. I wasn't prepared enough for what was going to happen. It was a very challenging time. There were years where I was eating ramen noodles and tuna fish for dinner. My girlfriend at the time, or fiance at the time, now my wife, we had some rough years while all my friends are out buying houses, buying cars. I'm driving a $300 Dodge Omni, and so there's a lot of sacrifice up front. Then we wanted to have kids, and we realized, listen, this isn't going to happen this way, so I took on a second job. Then the business started to take off, obviously, when you stop paying attention to it. And then a few years ago, I came back to Copeland to kind of re-energize things and expand what I'm doing with my business in Copeland. So,
what did you learn?
To pick a few, planning and preparation, having a plan in place, long-term, short-term goals are important. If you don't start with the end in mind, you don't know which path to take. And then just how important it is to comfortability talking about money, I think was a big thing.
You mean with clients?
Yeah, with clients. Not being afraid to say, this is how much the market pays for this type of service. We provide this service, you need to pay in proper terms, asking for payment. Trying to be as accommodating as possible. I think if I were more fair and more transparent in the cost, and this is why the cost, and explain that better, I would have had more success. But the planning is definitely the biggest piece of it, for sure.
All right, I've asked you a lot of questions. Do you have any questions for me?
Not really.
You don't have to.
No, that's pretty much it.
All right, anything you want to add?
No, but thank you. Thank you for everything you've done for us. I love these kind of talks. I think it's important to get real with people and get personal because I don't think people connect unless you go deeper into yourself.
I'm with you. I'm glad you brought that up. And that is our whole... when we're telling stories, we're not making up stories. We're telling stories. That's what we do, right? The Copeland story, what's your story? We thought that data didn't match. That's why we changed the name to the Technology and Solutions. Aren't these pretty mugs? But it's about authenticity. And what we part of what we're thinking is by doing things like this, it's not obviously, we do have a light. We do have little microphones, but it's not super high tech. 5-10 years ago, we might not have even been able to do this without super heavy expense. But we're able to do it, and I think this format allows us just to talk. It allows authenticity. This isn't going to be edited. This isn't. We're not building $1 million set for stuff like this. We're trying to be mobile. We want to talk to people. It doesn't have to be anyone just in business. But the idea is just to have a talk and see what comes of it. And if people want to utilize some of what is said, then that's great. And if they don't, that's great. If we connect with them, great. If we don't,
and I think that
okay.
the authenticity comes from not expecting likes, not expecting people to make comments, not putting it out there to get people to reach out to us and call us, is to spend time in thought, right? To provoke thought, because I know for me, if I'm spending my day in technology and this and that, I'm not thinking about empathy. I'm not thinking about other aspects of me that I need to improve. And if I don't see, or through some sort of medium or platform, if I don't see somebody else's story and how it connected with them, I may not think on that side. It's important to get different perspectives.
I mean, for us right now, as you know, and we're utilizing LinkedIn because it's an opportunity for people in the business world just to kind of talk and express what they think. And if it leads to a connection, that's great. And if it doesn't, that's okay too. If someone can take, so it's the same idea.
Yeah.
And you know, I mean, something we talk about today may end up on LinkedIn as well. Might be, or you can utilize some of it and put it on your website, whatever it is. And if that helps you and helps you tell your story and helps your brand, I don't think that's a bad thing. So
it's helping to show people who we are.
Right.
It's who we are. We're not ashamed of it. We're excited about it. We're a little bit of nerds, a little bit of geeks, you know, but you know, we think differently, and it's who we are. If you don't like us, you can turn the page. If you don't like us, you can scroll. I say turn the page like it's the day of books and magazines and stuff. If you don't like it, you can scroll. You can thumb down. So I appreciate it. I think this is good stuff.
All right, then we'll be back, or maybe episode 102.
102.
This is episode 2, so we'll keep this going.
Good time.
All right, that's it for session or episode 2 of Sidewalk Talk. Thanks to our sponsor, Vandalay Industries, George and his team, helping us out big time to make sure this thing happens. So until next time, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Take care.